Good evening and welcome to tonight's Angela Ray show. I am your host, Angela Ray. Wow, I cannot believe season two is here. And thank you so much to those of you who joined us last night who were kind of caught by surprise, like, oh, wow, a new season has dropped. Yes, indeed, it has. Let me just say thank you to everyone who will be catching this broadcast on the replay. Thank you so much for checking out the show. For those of you who will be joining us live, for those of you who are getting the notification that the Angela Ray is live, go ahead and do me a favor. Go ahead and tag your friends, share the broadcast, particularly if you are on Facebook. We definitely appreciate the support. As I mentioned last night, this being a part of Premiere Week, season two Premiere Week, we're not having our traditional Ray of Motivation moment, but instead, since this is National Poetry Month, we are highlighting and featuring some rising poets, some of those who are new to the game and who need to have their works shared. So I am really excited to welcome our poet for tonight. She is a native of Washington, D.C., and she's been writing poetry on and off since she was 12 years old, but kind of fell in love with it again during the pandemic. Definitely sounds familiar. So many of us kind of took up some things that we had stopped doing during the pandemic. So please help me welcome Janae Shaw. Janae, thank you so much for being on the
Hi.
Angela Ray Show tonight. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good today. A little
Uh,
tired, but I'm good.
Well, that is good. So you published a book last year, and that was your first book, correct?
Yeah, my first poetry book.
And what's the name of your book?
The first one is Without Purpose, I Have No Peace. And the second one that just came out February is Love Me Not.
Okay, awesome. And so you're going to be sharing a poem with us tonight. What's the title of your poem?
So this poem is from the book Without Purpose, I Have No Peace. And the title of it is Peace Will Never Find Me.
Okay.
Peace will never find me. Not in the sky, not in the trees, not underground, not in the seas. I hid in places never known, where light was never shown. Chaos hit me well. Skin dead, always pale, eyes dull, never fill. Body hurts, never healed. Seek all at once, turn its head around every corner. It can be far and it can be near, but never will peace for me be obtained. It may be quiet and there may be no pain, but that's just chaos playing games.
Peace will never find me. And so what inspired you to write that?
So overall, what the first book is about is like how I was feeling right after I graduated high school, because I didn't immediately go into college. I didn't really even graduate on time in high school. I graduated in August while everybody else graduated in like May. So
Hmm.
I mean, it was very confusing and I was very depressed and I didn't really know exactly where I was going or what exactly was my purpose in life. And I was kind of like stuck on that. And the more I was stuck on that, the more I fell into a depression.
And how did you find your way out of that depression?
Praying a lot, a lot of praying. And eventually I had to like turn to therapy because I was comparing myself to my peers and what I should be doing at that age of like between 20 and 25, and it was like it was chaotic.
So you turn to therapy. Now, traditionally in the African American community, therapy is sometimes either frowned upon. I mean, you
Right,
mentioned you did a lot of prayer, and so sometimes people are like, well, all you need to do is go to church, tell the Lord all
right.
about it, and that's going to be good. But you also decided you took the path of faith and works. So you had
Hmm.
the faith and you prayed, but you also worked in bettering yourself through therapy. What was it like? Did you feel any did you get any resistance from like your support circle when you decided to go to therapy?
um Actually, it was my mother who recommended that I should go to therapy. It was just I had just turned 20 and I was like, like where's my life going? Like everybody's doing these great things and here I am stuck at home. And then like I like burst out crying and my mom was like, you should try therapy. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. But before then, like whenever I thought about therapy, I was like, I don't need therapy. Like that's for like crazy people. I'm like, I'm not crazy or anything. Like, why would I need therapy?
And so was writing therapeutic for you at all?
Oh yes, definitely at the start of when I first started, which is around middle school. It definitely was more of like a hobby for me, like a pastime, something I could just get into.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
over
that is
time, it definitely became more of a passion.
okay. Well, your Instagram is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And of
Mhm.
course, we do have your website in the caption. So, is there anything else, any final thoughts you'd like to share, either about your book of poetry or encouraging people to get a copy?
I would say that the first book is definitely for people who feel like they're lacking something, and I kind of want to like let them know like, yeah, you're not alone. Like I felt that too, and there's definitely ups and downs. Like there's gonna be positives and there's gonna be negatives, but you have to learn how to navigate through it.
Okay. Well, Janae Shaw, thank you so much for being here in
Well,
our
thank
first
you.
ever poetry feature on the Angela Ray Show. This is National Poetry Month. I am also a poet, so poetry is near and dear to my heart. And then also, with the inauguration this year, seeing the great Amanda Gorman on an international stage, there's definitely been more of a spotlight on the spoken
Hmm.
word. So I wish you the best of luck in
Thank
making
you.
sales and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. All right, that was our featured poet, Janae Shaw. And again, you can connect with her on Instagram. Her Instagram is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And so now for our featured guest, he is a native of Camden, Alabama, and a graduate of Knoxville College. He is a businessman, but also very involved with entertainment. Most fans recognize him as the hilarious character Floyd in Tyler Perry's Love Thy Neighbor, as well as House of Payne, which is now on BET. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Palmer Williams Jr.
Hello, look at you. Aren't you beautiful and radiant in your yellow?
I try to be, this is that old school Delta color. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Right,
Go
right,
ahead.
right, right. Yeah,
You know,
that
you,
was
you got you got on the red. We're going together today.
yeah, you was back online as a pyramid or something. Yeah. Because and back in school they actually had the yellow raincoats and the red boots and everything. They never could put red and white together. So yeah, that was special times pledging and everything, especially with me being a Kappa and boy, with so many different colors of red. You just didn't know until you have homecoming. That's when everybody just comes with their different hues of red and crimson.
How about that? How about that? Well, Palmer, like, what is going on? As I thought about my day today and the different parts of my life that I had to do because I do so many different things, and then seeing your Instagram today and you showing us the picture of the snake, the video, I was like, oh, I didn't want to see this. I'm scrolling like, let me get past this real quick.
I'm
But
still
like,
scratching from that. So yeah.
yeah, it's like, oh, like what is a typical day like for you, particularly in the summertime? Because you're a
Well,
businessman.
definitely with the landscaping business, the actual the spring. The spring is off the chain because everything is blooming. We have that last snowstorm of Atlanta called pollen. And then after that is done and everybody gets sick for the first 2 to 3 weeks. And, especially while we're in the midst of a pandemic, everybody thinks they have COVID-19 when it's actually a sinus infection because the pollen is just overwhelming. I'm really not this color. I'm actually very dark skinned, but this is pollen. This is pollen has made me lighter. So
Okay.
it's just one of those things where that first cleanup of everybody's yard that swear they didn't need any service during the winter, and then so now they got to pay twice as much, if not 3 times as much, because of it's just overgrown and everything. But then there's also the bees. That here I am, a landscaper,
Mm.
and I'm allergic to bee stings. Go figure.
Oh, wow.
And as a matter of fact, I had an EpiPen one year. 2 weeks after it expired, and I threw it away, not knowing I could keep it. I got stung. I stung like 6 times in the hand and swell up. I had like Popeye's hands instead of his forearms. But yeah, you had to be careful about that. And then, of course, the snakes. That was a friendly snake today. That's called a king snake. He actually eats poisonous snakes and mice and rats and rodents and little groundhogs and things like that. So I just left him alone because a lot of people were asking, did you kill it? Did you kill it? And I was like, no, I didn't kill it. That's my friend. That snake has been in that yard for 3 years.
Okay, your friend. Okay.
I know. I know that snake. And when I tell you, I them break so hard, because if I had run over him, I would have tore up my lawnmower. He's about 6.5 feet long.
Ooh, I didn't realize it was that long. Okay, like I'm getting my skin is like flaring up a little bit. All right, so moving on. So House of Payne is back and it's on BET, and Floyd is back on the show. What was it like reuniting with that cast? Because you had been playing Floyd after House of Payne took a break from TBS, and you've been playing Floyd on Love Thy Neighbor, but then you got to go back to where you first created the character. So what was it like reuniting with the cast?
It was very weird, actually. That was one thing, and two, it was emotional. Because when I first started, I remember when we were on Krog Street, which is a very small studio that we're in, and just the infancy of the show, and I was only supposed to be on there for 6 episodes, and it turned out to be, quite a run so far. So it's been like 11, 12 years since I first appeared on there, when it was, still in its inaugural seasons there on TBS. So it was like emotional. I didn't feel out of place, but it felt like a brand new world almost, because things had changed from, even the Greenbrier studio over to Fort McPherson. So it was just amazing transformation, and it was just amazing. When I wrapped the 3rd episode, Tyler Perry just went through and saying, like, I love you, Cassie, I love you, LeVan, and I love you, Palmer, and stuff like that. And so it was just kind of like, wow, after all this time, you still felt the love, and it just worked out. And then I went back last November and shot some more episodes that are yet to be aired. So in the next season, prayerfully, you'll see, quite a bit more than the 3 episodes you saw me in before. And I got to work with Terrell, which is like one of my play sons in the industry, and Terrell Hill, who's a phenomenal actor that was just recently in the movie. Is it Jacob or something? And the Disciples. Lord have mercy. What's the name of the movie? Just came.
I don't know. He works so much. I cannot keep up with Terrell.
Yeah, but it was he's a powerful actor, and does comedic chops too. So.
Yeah, he's been very, very busy. Now, in addition to your making your way back to House of Payne, you've also done some films, but you have stepped behind the scenes, and you are producing and writing. And so your play For the Love Of, you brought it back during the pandemic and had a kind of like a pay-per-view. What was that experience like?
It was like panic. It was pandemonium. It was crazy. It was all over the place, because of no one really knowing what to do during the pandemic, and how to, protect themselves completely. There's a lot of fear, anxiety, protocol, temperatures, and swab testing, and getting certification that you were, negative. And as a matter of fact, one particular person was supposed to be in the show, and they couldn't because they tested positive.
Wow.
And that was amazing to have that, to have to scramble and find somebody else. And then the fact that we had to do it live that many times with cameras and no audience other than the crew. So that was a different thing. It almost felt like a TV show, but also introducing some new people that had not done the show before, because in the 3 times that I've done it, the cast has changed either slightly or dramatically. So it was cut my teeth again on trying to bring a show together, and show must go on. So you have to try to find some sort of way to make it work, and make it work well, because people are paying their money. So there's no excuse. You can't just give them some crap and expect them to pay good money, especially during a pandemic when everybody was kind of skeptical about spending their money on entertainment, because the entertainment industry basically died. So I was very blessed to be able to have something out there that may have touched somebody's life, hopefully, and tickled their funny bone.
But that's not all that you have in your wheelhouse. You have some pilots in development. What are some things that you can share that we should be on the lookout for, maybe in the next 6 to 9 months?
Well, I did a short with actually with my daughter, my youngest daughter, Nia, who's a junior, rising senior next year at FAMU, and a theater major. And she's featured in the short that I did, along with my son, Palmer III, actually shooting it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And also additional, one of my fraternity brothers and good friends from long ago, Mr. French Spencer, also shot with it as well, and used his production company to do this short called The Ties That Bind, that I co-wrote with a gentleman, Mr. Woodbine, Montreal Woodbine. And it's a very, very powerful little story about, how some kids, when their parents are incarcerated and having to go visit them. That's as much as I can tell you, because I don't want to give it away. But it's quite an interesting story. And art imitates life. I haven't been to jail, and she hadn't been to jail that I know of. But I want to tell the story because I've experienced family members that have, and difficulties in trying to keep up with your parent, and the parent trying to keep up with their children. So it's that's another thing. And then I'm also working on a sitcom for myself, and also my agent has put together some of our co-label mates, so to speak, and collaborating on a movie, kind of like a remake of an old movie that we're going to do, in a modern day takeoff of it, and put a little color, a little melanin in it. So it's one of those kind of movies. So that's what I've been doing, that and hosting different events. Just today, I know I'm going to be in Phoenix City, Alabama in July. But the major thing that I'm getting ready to do now is my first annual golf tournament. And it's a benefit golf tournament for Knoxville College, my alma mater, to raise money and raise awareness of this particular HBCU that needs the help. And prayerfully, somebody that's recording this can send this to Master P, because I heard he's trying to buy HBCU.
Oh.
Holla at your boy. So, because this is the alma mater of my mother and father as well. That's where they met, and they eventually got married right after graduation. So, and my father was one of the charter members of Knoxville College's Beta Phi chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated.
So you were legacy. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. No one from the founding lines has ever come back and pledged at Knoxville College except for me.
Oh, okay.
Because I went over in 1984, so it was like.
Well, where's that again?
My father, he crossed in 1947. Wow. Yeah, and got married to my mother in 1949. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so legacy all the way around.
We got a question from one of our very loyal viewers here at the Angela Ray Show. How have the events that have occurred during the last 12 months influenced your work as a Black man in this country? How are you feeling right now?
Nervous. Unfortunately, from the Atlanta protest, and my daughter actually going down to the protest, and I didn't hear from her for a while. So that had my nerves bad, and not to mention the fact that she had a slight fender bender during the time period. So my nerves were shot. Between that and just knowing that you feel like you have a target on your back sometimes. And I'm the father of 2 teenage sons and 2 daughters, 2 African-American daughters, and no one's safe, but it just seems like we're just, I don't know, as a parent, I'm perplexed every night. You know, my prayer is that I never bury my children. They're supposed to bury me, but hopefully in a long time from now. I think about, as far as influencing my writing, it is the sitcom that I'm actually, writing has to do with several people of color. And so with that, I'm going to address some of the similarities and differences between, African Americans as well as our Hispanic community. And it's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be comical, but it's not going to be the type of show where, you're offensive or anything like that. Just want to show that you never know just how similar we are until you sit down and have a conversation. Because I hate to sound like one of those people like, well, I got my one Mexican friend, no. I have several brothers and sisters from the Hispanic community that you just don't even think about the fact that you are of a different tone of melanin, so to speak, and different culture. But one thing that I do admire about the Hispanic community is that they are really, really family oriented. Not that we aren't, but it's the beautiful part about their community. They can trace back their relatives right back to Mexico.
Wow.
Whereas we don't know where our origin may be. So, and then there's a lot of communities and a lot of cultures that you can follow the entire lineage of a family just by going to the graveyard and you can see everybody. But for us, and we got Ancestry.com and various other things. And Dr. Lewis Gates, I would love to be a guest of his one day. But, other than that, where do we come from?
Yeah.
So it's just very interesting. And I want to know more about my side of the family as far as my mother and my father. So it's all of that stuff is coming into my head, and I'm trying to channel all that into writing and into songs because I'm a songwriter as well. And then also in the roles that I'm blessed to be able to be casted for. It hadn't been a whole lot last year. Just got casted in a movie. Can't say anything about it now. And it's a pretty decent little, I'll be on there for more than 2 minutes, but it's a pleasure to be able to come out of this with something, because the pandemic is not over. It's not even close to being over. But at the same time, I think people are now understanding how to go back to work safely.
Right. Definitely.
Scary. But, that's influenced my work is this pandemic. And also, I feel like I almost wasted time not writing enough when I had the idle time. Yeah.
Hello.
But I didn't know I was an essential worker until last year when the grass didn't get coronavirus. So
the grass didn't have the Rona.
Now, someone with all them weeds in their yard, it did look like they had something going on.
Okay.
But yeah, I found out that my company is considered an essential worker. So I mean, it was a blessing to be able to be in a pandemic and yet prosper. So God is faithful.
Absolutely. So in addition to, you just hinted to it just a moment ago. Okay, we know, I was about to say Floyd. We know Palmer, the actor on, film and television. We know Palmer, the actor.
I want to answer Floyd now. Just don't write for a check.
Okay. But you were just talking a little bit about, writing songs, and, I've heard some of the music that you've written. You sang background for Keith Sweat, and, you performed with Monica. What is your first love, though? Is it music or is it the acting?
Definitely music.
Okay.
music. I thought that I had to become a dentist in order to go to LA and fix the teeth of the stars in order to be discovered as a singer. That was my mind.
You had a whole rigmarole journey that just okay.
Do you remember all those shows that when they had the miracle makeovers and all those different makeovers they had for people, not the houses, but for the people?
Right.
And had like that grill was really jacked up. I could be that brother that was on there that was fixing all those teeth because I knew that Hollywood would need to have, their teeth fixed if they came in very talented, but that grill was jacked up, looked like they had a front end collision. There was an agent that told me one time that I would represent you, but you're going to have to get your teeth fixed first.
Wow.
Because I have a gap.
Look at Michael Strahan. He pulled a whole April Fool's joke over his gap. I mean, come on now.
I'll tell you something. That is the prototype for the Bankhead Tunnel down in Mobile, Alabama, because his teeth, it looks like he's missing a tooth. And it has a lisp and yet prosper.
Wait a minute. Hold up. I didn't even know. What?
Yeah. That looked like a tongue. It looked like that's part of an amusement park. Like there's supposed to be a
Stop it.
It's supposed to just go straight down, If he laughs like this, a car.
Stop it. Okay. All right.
2 lines parking at Home Depot. There's those 2 lines.
You don't know when to stop. Pull back. And I can literally hear Greg Kirkland Jr. in my head, like
oh my God.
Trying to get you to pull back.
Just did a piece with him. He wrote a play called Freed, and we did it for House of Hope with Pastor Dr. E. Dewey Smith, and we collaborated with that piece, which is for Easter, and it's probably still available on YouTube. It's called Freed, F-R-E-E-D, and Greg and I are actually working on something now to film again because it was filmed by a production company. It turned out very well, but gonna be some.
I saw some clips on Instagram. I was like, oh, this looks like a film. Like this doesn't look just like a video project that we've done for the Easter play. This looks like a legitimate film.
Let me tell you like this, the camera that they used, the production company was using, I could basically buy probably a Tesla X.
Wow.
That's
okay.
How that camera was. It's an industry standard. And I was like, I couldn't concentrate for looking at that camera and thinking about what I could do with that camera. If only I knew how to turn it on. So,
Then there's that. Okay, another question for you from Edwin. You both have ties to Atlanta. What is the beauty of your community and what are the burdens?
When you speak of community, are you talking about my area in which I live or my African-American community? If you're speaking of the community that I live in, I'm in a place where we chose the area I live in now because of the schools, and they have benefited us tremendously because they have prepared my children very well and have helped them to, realize their potential and their peaks and even some of their weaknesses that they can develop into strengths, from band to theater to baseball to just chorus, even film development. I have a son that's a freshman at Georgia State that's a film major, and he's been able to shoot professionally since the 10th grade because of Cobb County schools. So, I guess I kind of told where I was, but no, it's part of my community.
You see where Cobb County, Cobb County schools in Palmer, where he live at.
Exactly. But the other issue, as far as a burden, there's still some covert as well as hidden racism in the area. And it usually is exposed around election time. But fortunately, and it's almost like, shh, don't tell nobody, but Biden won Cobb County. But, still, there's enough of us that can influence political outcomes. So that's why we have this issue now with the voting and the restrictions on the voting rights. trying to be rescinded or taken away because sore losers. And they didn't expect us to vote. We do read. They say, if you don't want us to know anything, put it in a book or instructions. Yes, we read and we vote. I think we're starting to figure it out now that it's very, very valuable tool, especially when I know my mother and father were in civil rights, activities and hiding people that were trying to get voting rights acts. And most of the people they were hiding were white in Alabama. So, I grew up waking up, stepping over white people in the living room and their little pallets, which for those of you who don't know what a pallet is, that's when you put a couple of blankets down and maybe a sheet and another blanket and a pillow and you're laying on the floor. That's a pallet. Not the things you put stuff on and lift it with a forklift. But
right.
That's a pallet. But I had a lot of white uncles and aunts. So, yeah, because they either stay there or be killed. Yeah. It's just, you don't think about it when you're growing up. But then when you start thinking back in retrospect, it's kind of scary.
Very much so. Before we wrap, I do want to talk, you mentioned the Knoxville College golf tournament. Can you kind of talk a little bit more about it for people who are watching? What are some things that they can do? Are you looking for sponsors? Do you need a very vibrant and charismatic host to be a part of the event? Was that a pitch or what? No. But what are some things that would be helpful for the public who, are watching this now and may have thought, he mentioned a golf tournament. How does that apply to me? What can I do?
Well, just so you know, I am not that golfer. I'm really not. But I've noticed that it is an opportunity and a vehicle in order to raise money for a great cause. I have been hosting Rocky King and Jeff Foxworthy's golf tournaments for the last 5 years. And I will also be hosting theirs again this year. But what has happened is that with Knoxville College, its doors are closed and its buildings are in disrepair in some cases. So we're trying to raise money to actually revitalize it, get a brick and mortar so that way grants and things like that can be granted to us. And what has happened is that because it's my mother and father and my own alma mater, as well as one of my aunts and one of my cousins and a great grandfather that all graduated from Knoxville College, it's personal. I thrived there. I was able to start my journey from adolescence or into young adulthood and then on into being an adult. And Knoxville College, I owe that to, and all the relationships that I developed during that time period in college. So this particular one is going to help us to prayerfully reopen some buildings one by one every year, having this tournament, and all the proceeds go to Knoxville College. And they're going to be earmarked for the restoration of some of the buildings that are already on the historic registry in Tennessee. So I know that we see all of the monies going to all these other HBCUs that are very solvent, but here's one that is historically been around since 1875. And it would be a shame for the legacy of Knoxville College to just go away, when, there are so many children that could have come to Knoxville College when they didn't have a choice anywhere else. So I want to illuminate the light on the hill forever. And I think I owe Knoxville College my love for them and my work ethic to try to get them back on their feet, because there are so many kids that could be doing something better than what they may have chosen to do. So Knoxville College is definitely a proving ground, and it's definitely a forgiving kind of school that have taken people that I've seen that came from the streets, drug dealers and pimps and their colleagues and everything, and come to Knoxville College and became model citizens in their various cities. So
okay,
it's personal.
Well,
The whole song, I'm sorry to cut it, but the song from Knoxville College is close to our hearts, dear old KC, shall ever be thy memory. We love thy dear old halls. We love thy trees and their verdant hills, thy deep toned bell whose music thrills thy consecrated walls. Deep in our hearts forevermore, there our dear old name shall be. And as the silent years go by, we'll live for thee, KC.
You were supposed to sing that. You know that you weren't supposed to say it. You were singing. You were supposed to sing it. You know how they say. You know how they said when they pulled over the 5 heartbeats, the police pulled them over. Talking about y'all singers. Well, y'all sang then.
Love you, baby. Oh, that's
That scene. Oh yeah, that was one that just made me gasp the first time I saw that movie. It
happened to me in Virginia.
Mm.
Yeah, made us sing on the back trunk of the car. Me and my guys in the group. The same guy that shot the short I was talking about with my daughter and my son. Yeah, he was on the back of the truck. On the back of the trunk with us.
Mm-hmm.
We had to sing a song because we were coming from an audition for LaFace Records. Yeah, back in the day when we were 20 years old, just 10 years ago.
Right, just 10 years ago. Okay, so your Instagram is scrolling at the bottom, and I got your note about the lowercase, but I believe it's not. Yeah, I think it's case sensitive. So for those of you who are watching, definitely connect with Palmer on Instagram. You'll be seeing him share more information in the coming months about this golf tournament benefiting Knoxville College. I'm sure there will be opportunities for you all that are business owners to sponsor the tournament. Those of you who may have products that you want to get in the hands of some of the golfers. I'm assuming, is this going to be a celebrity golf tournament? Like, are you looking for celebrities to be involved?
Yes.
So for those of you who are celebrities, make your pitch, have your publicist reach out to, have your people call their people.
Exactly, with a check. Also, just so you know that for those that are not golfers, there are going to be a lot of activities during the day. We're going to have actual live comedy shows. It's basically going to be a day party. It's going to be at Cannon Gate golf course down a little bit before Noonan. And when I tell you, beautiful course, the people there are so hospitable. They have club rentals, even shoe rentals. They even have, I don't know about renting shoes during the pandemic, but you can buy them there too. But it's an amazing course. The food is good at the little clubhouse and everything. I mean, and they have this thing called a drink cart.
Yeah, I've worked some golf tournaments, some celebrity golf tournaments. You don't even have to tell me about it, so I get it.
I didn't know 5 years ago.
Okay, all right. Well, Palmer, one of the most important guests and viewers that I could ever have watch my show has just chimed in to say hello, and it is my mom. So she says hello.
Look at you being tech savvy.
I know, how about that?
I know your mom. I know you're a teacher mama. I know. But you got a young mama, so it's all
good. I do, and I get it from my mama. Okay. All right. Now, Palmer, thanks so much for hanging out. Day 2 of season 2. Again, please connect with Palmer on Instagram at Palmer Williams J to hear what's coming up with this new sitcom, the movie that he can't tell us about yet, and definitely for this golf tournament benefiting Knoxville College.
Believe it or not, I'm playing a pastor. That's all I can say.
Oh, pastor. Okay. All right. Well,
God's forgiving. No, just kidding.
All right. Well, Palmer, enjoy the rest of your evening, and thanks for hanging out with me tonight.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you have this show. You need your own platform, obviously, and people, you don't even understand the work ethic of this woman, especially when she was in the show with me. I hated that I couldn't have her on the streaming one because she was busy. But let me tell you something. This woman right here is the truth. She has the chops of life. And not only that, she's pleasant to get along with. She doesn't complain, and she goes in and she does the work, and she does it quickly and efficiently. So just I'm telling you, I'm gonna put her in something else. I think I hired her more so because of her heart before it was even anything about her talent, because she's a beautiful woman inside and out.
Well, thank you, Palmer. I appreciate that. And I'll go ahead and cash app you that $50 as we talked about for that compliment. All right.
That would take care of the fee.
Oh, it went up to 55. Okay.
But if you come co-host with me in my golf tournament, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, come on now. Like, that was a whole pitch right there. It was a whole pitch. But yeah, golf tournaments, they are amazing. They're a lot of fun, and it's a lot of networking on the golf course. I don't golf, but I've been in those circles when I'm at golf tournaments and who you're like rubbing shoulders with. It's amazing the access.
A
It's
whole
just
coffee company that's owned by a church.
crazy.
Ran
Okay.
into that. Jeff
Okay.
Foxworthy is in the cart with me. For those who
Yeah.
don't know him, you need to know who that is. Yeah.
I know who Jeff Foxworthy is.
It just hit you, didn't it?
Are you smarter than a fifth grader? And you might be a redneck if that's what really put him on the map. I know my people. I know who Jeff is.
Produced all of that. He produced all of
Okay.
that. Yeah. Rug,
All right.
elbows, knuckles, everything, and checkbooks.
That's the important part, them checkbooks. Thank you for that, Edwin. I appreciate it. All right, Palmer, I'm gonna let you go, and thanks again for hanging out tonight.
Always and love hanging out with you.
All right, enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, love.
All right.
Yo.
Perfect ending to the interview. Well, that is it for this day 2 of the Angela Ray Show. Just want to real briefly bring Janae back really quickly just to talk about her book, just to give you the title of her book again, since she's still hanging out. Janae, tell us the title of your book again.
Without Purpose, I Have No Peace. And the second one is Love Me Not.
Okay. All right. And there is Janae's Instagram as well. All right. Again, thank you all so much for hanging out tonight. And tomorrow, I am bringing on one of my fellow Tar Heels. You got to stay tuned to find out who that's going to be. And until tomorrow night, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks for hanging out.
Bye.
Bye.